Good evening and welcome. Thank you so much for joining us this evening to talk about Great Hearts Online Arizona. My name is Heidi Vasiloff. I'm the Executive Director of Great Hearts Online, and we are so excited to give you a little sneak peek into what's happening in our classrooms, what it feels like, and to learn a little bit about our culture and about the way that we teach. I am delighted this evening that we will introduce you to it. And I know as you're making a choice, you want all that information you can get to sort of get a sense of the culture and the classroom experience. We'd like to tell you, well, to start it off, first of all, we are a K-8 school this year. We do still have some limited space in our K-8 program. So if you're interested in applying this year, you'll find out some more information at the end of the talk, but certainly log in now for that. If you're interested in next year, we're going to be K-9. So again, we have opportunities to apply for both our live and our asynchronous model. Welcome again. To kick us all off and to start us off in the right place, please join me in welcoming Headmaster Tordick. Jamie Tordick, how are you this evening? We're so pleased that you're here. And good to have you here and talking about your school. This is exciting.
Doing great. Yes, I would love to just chat a little bit about our school. So I would say that something that sets Great Hearts apart, and Great Hearts Online as well, from other schools is that we don't just have high academic standards. So our students really, we want to train our students to really achieve everything that they can and grow academically. But we also want students to really grow in virtue. So one thing about our culture is that we want to create very safe spaces for students to ask a lot of questions, make it okay for them to make mistakes, learn about how to be a good friend and how to respect other students' opinions and how to honor one another as individuals and care for each other, even when we might not agree. So one thing that our teachers do, I think, differently and really, really well is that they learn when and how to stop class and really talk about virtue and how to build virtue, because we want our students to, when they graduate from high school, we want them to be very productive citizens in their community, not just for their knowledge and their skills, but also because of the people they become, the deep, rich virtue that is instilled in each and every one of them. And so that is something that I just really, really love about Great Hearts. So they know how to be a good friend.
I love that. I love that. We do want people who can speak up and be courageous and act with, integrity and walk forward. And what does that mean to a first grader, right? And helping them define that early on is really beautiful. I'm wondering if you could tell us a little bit about our philosophy. We're a classical liberal arts school, and what does that mean?
Yes. So liberal arts, I would say, is all about preparing our students for any vocation and any career. So we want them to have a very broad knowledge base. And so there's not, so everyone takes art, every student takes music. And they learn about classical music and composers and what is beautiful and why. And it's so important. So they have a very broad, deep, rich education that they can use and apply in any calling. But also classical is one thing that sets us apart with that classical education is that we believe in modeling what has been done really well in the past. So one thing our students do is they read a lot of classical literature. They discuss it in class. They are active participants in their learning. So they're in discussion over some of these great books and talking about the characters and did they make a good choice or what was their struggle and was this character a good friend? Trying to decide and talk about some of those things with their classmates is just really, really beautiful to watch and see and have them learn and be able to contribute wisely to those conversations. But also just that Socratic method of teaching, our teachers are trained in. So they know how to encourage students to participate in the discussion and to really take part in their learning and to think things through and ask questions. So it's much more of a conversation and the class learning together than the teacher just speaking at the students. So we want them to love learning and to learn for a lifetime. And so that's what we help our students really do. And just giving them the tools to have a very rich depth of inquiry. So knowing what questions to ask. And the other thing our teachers do really, really well is helping children develop a sense of wonder. So why does it do that? I want to find that out. And the teacher not giving those immediate answers, but allowing the students to really explore that sense of wonder and have it be just a fun part of their learning.
And online provides this really interesting way of being even more connected, right? Because the home and the school are really intertwined. And so there's opportunities for them to share in ways that they wouldn't have had in a regular brick and mortar school, which was surprising to me when we took on this adventure here in online learning. We're going to take a tour of your school, right? Or some different classes and different grades, looking at some of the technology. Do you have a specific way of thinking about how we use technology, or what's the purpose of technology in a classical liberal arts online school?
Yes. So normally technology would not be a huge part of a classical education. However, we have found that it does really nurture strong families and these connections that they wouldn't be able to have otherwise. So we watch our families learn or watch an art class together and do art projects together and be able to talk about why the art is beautiful, or be able to talk about the artist's past and life story at the dinner table together and really engage with each other and learn together as a family. So it's a tool that provides this very enriching learning opportunity for the whole family to learn together that students wouldn't normally have if they're going to a brick and mortar school. So it also allows students who might not live close to a Great Hearts brick and mortar school to participate in our curriculum because it's aligned with the brick and mortar schools. So some of our families have just told us how grateful they are that there is this opportunity that they can join a Great Hearts school because they don't live so close, or they might live in a remote location. But so it aids that Socratic learning in a way that has surprised all of us. And our teachers would say they have gotten to know their students really, really well. And the personal connection has been so much richer than they expected because they're in the child's home. They're seeing what's going on. There's the kids in the background,
And I know we also have in person. Can you just give me a really quick story about what happened this last weekend with your grades today? Yeah.
So we have a lot of events and opportunities for meeting in person. It's not required. So not everybody has to do it, but it's a really fun way to develop those relationships further. So for instance, this last Friday, we had a zoo outing for a few of our grade levels, and a lot of our families came out, and we all, I was there as well, and some of our teachers and our deans, and it was a day off for everybody. So it's just evidence that our teachers really love their students because they chose on their day off to go to an optional field trip event, and be with their students and just have fun with them. And they were laughing and exploring the zoo. They went on this wonderful, they had these wonderful games of where they were trying to find things and mark them down on a piece of paper and scavenger hunt kind of thing. So that was just one example of some fun things we do. But there's also weekly park days and lunch bunches and all sorts of other, we sometimes will have events based on a grade level or based on the area that you live. And so it's more like families getting together. So there are these different opportunities to meet other people and really build community because that's so important for the kids.
I love that. Thank you so much, Headmaster Tordick. And I now know that we're going to go through some different grades. We're going to start off with third grade, and I'd like to invite Mr. Naktaboran to the table. Hello, how are you?
I'm well, thank you.
And I think it's with an N, not a K, but I will just, your name was complicated enough without changing it up on me on the announcement. Mr. Nocturborn, third grade math, tell us a little bit about how it works. You're going to showcase some of the tools. I mean, one of the things that we think about in brick and mortar is you can walk around and sort of see what kids are doing or students or what our scholars are working on. It's different in online, and yet there's some really great innovation and tools that we can use. So take it away. Please share with us your third grade, give us a little glimpse into third grade.
Yeah. So in third grade, one of the things that we have the benefit of is, in a normal classroom, we had the ability to walk around. But in the online version, I have the ability to see all of their work at once, which is really beautiful through the use of document cameras. And so I thought I would just lead you through what a lesson would look like in third grade. And so normally we'd be using a book like this, but we've already done this problem in the book. And so we're going to do it on a piece of paper that I've typed it out on. And so one of the things I love about the Singapore math program is it really invites students to explore math and to try to understand math, not just to learn some things. I mean, there are some things that we have to learn, some rote memorization. You need to know your facts and things like that. But we really want to give children the skills and the tools in order to solve a problem. And so I thought I would just walk through a problem as we would in class, just so we could see what that would look like. And so here I have a short story problem. It says story A had 4,712 people. After 628 people moved out of town A, there were 1,258 fewer people in town A than town B. How many people did town B have? Right. And so this is a third grade problem. This is a pretty challenging problem. But the way we do this is we just try to approach it through what is it that we can find? What is it that we understand? And so we have a bunch of different numbers here. And so we use a lot of Socratic questioning, just asking students, what do these numbers mean? How do we understand these numbers in relationship to one another? But the main tool that we use in the elementary grades is what we call bar modeling, really starting at the end of second and going through fifth. And it's through modeling that we help students visualize these problems. So the parents are looking at it through algebraic terms. We want the students to be able to do algebra, but to do it through modeling. And so what we would do is we would just begin modeling what we know. Now, there's a lot of different ways we could draw models to show things that we know. But what we want to be able to do is for students to have a shared common experience. Not every model is going to be exactly the same. A lot of the models will look different based on how the students do it. But every student should be able to look at another student's model and have an idea of what they're doing. And so here we start out with that town A had 4,712 people. And so that's where we start at. And so we just begin. And I would have a student guiding me to this, right? I wouldn't be just showing the answer as I am now, but I'd be having them show me. And then it tells us that some people left. They left town A. And so we would mark that here to show that people left the town. And again, I wouldn't just be writing this down. Correct. The students would be guiding me to understand this. And then what we see is that after these people had left, town B had this many more people. And so how am I to understand that? So I would draw another model right here like this. This is how much town B, and they had more people after those people left. And so we'd be modeling these things together like this. And so then the question is what are the steps that we would have to use to solve this, right? What is it that we're trying to find? Well, we're trying to find how many people were in town B. That's what we're trying to find. And so I would be asking the questions, asking the students, what do we do? How do we figure this out? Using our model, how do we get there? And what we find out is we have to figure out how many people there were in town A after those people left. And so we would do the math, and I won't do the math for time's sake, but we find out we'd have 4,084 people, all right? And so the question is now that I know how many people were in town A after some left, how would I then figure out how many people are in town B? And so here we would take this, and now we see that we have these two parts, this number right here and this number right here. And what would we do with those? How would we figure that out? If I have a part here and a part here, how do we figure this out, right? And ultimately find out that the answer is 5,342, all right? Now, the most beautiful part of this is, and that what online really does well for us, is we have the ability to use what we call breakout rooms. And so I'm gonna lead a lesson, lead a word problem like this, where I'm doing most of the work. And then I might do a problem or two where the students are supporting me in that role. I'm still doing most of the drawing. They're following my drawing, but then I get to send them out into breakout rooms, and they get to learn in community, because learning is going to happen best when they're working together and there's not some teacher just feeding them the answers, just telling them, yes, this is right, or no, this is not right. And so one of the ways, so this, in my third grade math class, we're pretty low tech. We're still using a piece of paper, we're using a pencil, but the document cameras really allow us to see. And so the students can all see each other's work. And it's a beautiful thing to see students in a classroom working and discussing with one another and saying, oh, I don't think you modeled that quite right. And they're able to help them and give them further instruction. And so this is what a classroom looks like. And it's engaging, it's exciting, because it's not just, here's 20 problems of, 5 times 4, do these. It's a way for those students to come together and really learn together.
I absolutely love that. And I love the fact that they are using paper and pencil. One of the things that we've heard is so much being on the screen. They're learning how to problem solve. This math program is brilliant, but also the fact that they can help and support and encourage each other in breakout rooms is really beautiful. So, Mr. Dr. Bourne, when you pick your tools that you're using, it sounds like you weren't looking for the biggest bells and whistles or shiniest things out there. You were looking for things that were really that would intentionally serve your classroom well. And dock cameras are one of those, so that you can see the work, just like we were seeing you walk along, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And that's what I think we want to make sure that we're using the technology available to us, but we always want to use it in a way that's beneficial. We don't want to use technology just to draw people in or just to get people excited. The students themselves, as they grow in their understanding of math and the other beautiful things that we study, the excitement will be there. We don't have to use artificial means to increase the excitement. Once students come to really experience math or experience science or experience or literature, they're going to be excited about the learning. That we don't have to do those things. And so we just want to use technology to where they're beneficial. And so there are times where if we're looking at fractions, I might use a website that I can pull up fractions. So I can, I may not have fraction squares that I can use in person with them, but we can use those digitally on the computer. But we only want to use it in such a way that it supplements and supports learning, never that it detracts from it. And that can be the danger if we try too much, is that it detracts from the learning and it becomes more about the experience of using technology than the experience of learning. And so we always want to use our technology well in that respect.
I love that. And I think that that's exactly right? We want to use it it should aid us. It should not just take away from the learning as it's going through. And we do, you started off by showing us a book, and they do work in a book, and they use their pencils to do that work as they're going along. How do they submit? How are they graded? I mean, is it all done on the computer, or what is the process?
Yeah, there's a number of different ways for work to be done. So a lot of times the work will be done on a piece of paper, and then they will submit an image of that paper for the teacher to look at and grade and give feedback on. Other times it could be a quiz so that they put their answers in. And that's one of the benefits of that, is they get immediate feedback. So that way, if they do 5 or 6 problems, they can know exactly, I got these 4 right, but I got these couple wrong. So how do I fix those? And a lot of times we'll set up our grades to our assignments to where students can actually redo the work. So if they do 5 problems and get 1 wrong, they can go back and figure out why they got it wrong, try to fix it, maybe have mom or dad support them in getting that, and then get the right answer. And that's beneficial for them, because ultimately our goal is not just to give a grade. That's not the purpose. The purpose is learning. And so whatever learning is most effective, and if that's for a student to be able to redo a problem or 2 and figure out why they made that mistake so that they can learn from it, that's ideal. There are many other ways. In some classes, you're going to submit typed out essays or handwritten essays. And so a number of different ways for students to demonstrate their work. Sometimes we'll even have them do a video. And so if I was having a word problem like this, instead of just seeing the end result, I might have them record themselves underneath their document camera so that I can see every step they're taking. And maybe they're talking to me and they're saying, well, I know this, and then I know this. And so that's more time consuming, but that'll give me a good idea of, does this student really understand this problem? Do they understand the concepts? Or is this an area where we need to spend more time and focus a little bit better?
I absolutely love that. And I think that that's what the key is, right? Is we need to understand where the students are struggling and also how can we support them. I know you have tutoring times, and we also love the fact that parents are working alongside them, because that sort of instant feedback is also really profoundly helpful for students as they learn and scholars as they learn. Also, the fact that they can see the video again if they don't remember how to do it. I can't tell you the number of times that my children would come home and say, the teacher said, and you're like, did the teacher actually say that? I don't know, maybe. So that's another win there. And I saw one question that came in that said, um, do we provide document cameras? How do the students have a document camera? And this year we have them all provided, and that would be a requirement going forward, is that they have a document camera, because we do want to see their work. We want to see their pencil grip, their cursive, all the things that they do in that space.
Yes, yes. Yeah, document cameras are provided and required because we want to be able to see those things. So yeah, from the smallest things like in Spalding, we're making sure they're holding their pencils well so that they're not getting fatigue, but also being able to make sure that they're performing their work. And it's really important for their peers to be able to see that when we put them into rooms. Another beneficial feature we have is we have a focus mode to where I can see everyone's work, but they can't see each other's. That way I know that they're not able just to look off of someone else. But yes, it's a tremendously beneficial tool, and it's nice as a teacher. I can just blow them up on my screen and see all of them working at once, instead of having to walk around and just hitting a couple things and maybe missing something that what student's doing over here because I can't see what they're doing on the other side of the room. In the digital room, they're all in front of me, easy for me to see.
I love it. Thank you so much, Mr. Naktabor, and I'm so grateful for your time, for sharing that with and giving us a little glimpse into third grade math. So thank you for joining us this evening.
Thank you.
I'd like to invite up. We're moving up in grades. We're going to go to fifth grade history. Miss Walls, will you please join us?
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you? This is Carrie Walls, a dean of 4th and 5th grade, also a very experienced teacher and a lover of 5th grade history. Every time I talk about it, she's like, oh, I can help with that. It's like, yay.
And I would like to add that the document cameras can also be used as a lamp. That's how I'm using mine right now.
Oh, very nice. I should have thought about that.
I know.
Another one to come up there. That's fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. And I know we're going to take a look at history, but one of our goals tonight was to talk about the manner and selection of tools that we use, why we would use them, and how a student might engage in a lesson. So what do you have for us this evening?
So the tool that I am going to be featuring today is called Nearpod. And this is a tool that our teachers really love using because it engages all types of listeners, whether you learn better through listening or seeing or participating physically. Nearpod has a way of capturing all of that. And one of the reasons I really like working with Nearpod is that it kind of creates a small group feel that you would have in a brick and mortar classroom, where the students have a chance to kind of get their hands on something and work through it a little bit. And as a teacher, I can actually run a report after I go through the Nearpod lesson and spend a little bit more time looking at student responses and gauging my own teaching. Do I need to reteach something or go back and clarify a concept? So I am going to go ahead and take you on a tour through Nearpod. One of the topics that we have in 5th grade history is the Italian Renaissance. I believe that there was a follow along code that was posted. If not, that's okay. But if it was, please feel free to work on this on your own now or later. So usually we begin our lessons with some kind of big question. And this is a way that we anchor our students in what we're doing. And we can use Nearpod also just as a slideshow. So this is an example of how we could just integrate slides with Nearpod. And the next tool that I have, it takes a little while, but we also have this collaborate board. You can see at the top here, it says, what do you think of when you hear the term Renaissance? Now, the students are all able to post their own response. I think of rebirth. And it posts in the way of kind of like a sticky note. And once all the notes are up there, the teachers can go back through, they can like it if they agree. And then as the teacher, I'm able to see everybody participating. I can also make the names anonymous so that the students maybe feel a little bit more comfortable posting something that they're not 100% sure about. And next, we have an example of how we can actually use virtual reality with Nearpods. And this is a really great way when we're talking about art and architecture of the Renaissance. We really want our students to have a chance to experience that. So here we have an example of a building in Florence, and I'm able to manipulate this on my screen, also have the option of manipulating it on their screen. And they really get a great view of this beautiful work of art, which is also architecture. So this is another example of that slide feature I was discussing earlier, where maybe you have some concepts that are all lined up with each other and you want to make sure that you're hitting them all at the same time. So as you can see, I've actually embedded 4 different slides for this topic so that I can easily just go through them. The words are bolded, so maybe we're taking notes at this time. And this is more reflective. So there is that kind of tactile experience with this as well. So next, maybe I am interested in gauging how the students are doing so far. So this is when we have time to climb. I'm going to turn that off. So this is a feature where the students actually get to compete against each other and answer different questions. And these are questions that I've created. And as the students populate in the game, it will show little swimmers, and they're all trying to reach this flag up here. And with each question they get correct, they get closer and closer to that flag. And they get to collect points as well. So it's a lot of fun for them. Here is an example of how I can use Nearpod to draw. So in this case, it is telling me to look at this church and circle or label features from Renaissance architecture. So maybe I want to draw special attention to the columns as a callback to ancient Greece and Rome. And that's kind of what the Renaissance was all about, was bringing back those ideas from the ancient times. Next, I might have a little quiz embedded in my lesson just to see how the students are tracking with everything. And now this is the student view, but I can also toggle over to the teacher view, and I can see how are all of my students doing right now. And I really enjoy this feature, which is just like an open-ended question. We always try to provide moments of reflection, especially in history and science. It's so important to have the students make those discoveries on their own. And this is really a chance for them to do that. And again, I can see those responses as they come in. And I can also run a report later on and look at them a little bit more carefully and really see how the students are thinking about this content. And finally, at the end of the lesson, I might have a poll where the students are able to tell me how they're feeling about the lesson. Do they feel really good about it or not so much? So that is, again, a tool that I can use later on. And as the teacher, this is the view that I see. So it's really helpful for me. And so that's one of our favorite tools, Nearpod. Thank you for letting me share that with you.
I love that. Thank you so much, Ms. Dean Walls. I want to say Ms. Walls. I just to close this out, though, I think the fact that the students are engaged the whole time, not just passively listening, and not working independently. They're both in community, and also you're collecting data as a teacher. Like, oh, Johnny, we might need to have a little talk afterwards because not quite getting there. Or, wow, she's a rock star. I might have her present next time. Just that feedback loop, that checking for understanding, a little bit of competition in there. It's just a beautiful way to engage students in a sense of wonder, right? Like, I wonder about this. So thank you so much for sharing that tool with us and letting us get a little glimpse into what history. I need to take some more history classes clearly in 5th grade.
Oh, let me know. I'll tutor you.
Yeah, I will. I'll come. I'll take you up on that. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Heidi.
Yep, bye. We're going to continue to move up in grades, and I'm so excited to invite Dean Cooley to join us, who is our Dean of Middle School. Welcome so much, and thank you for being here, Christina.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to talk about middle school.
Middle school. I love middle school. So when it comes to technology, how do you help your teachers and help determine what we should use, what we shouldn't use? What's the purpose of using how do we use technology in middle school? Because middle school and technology sometimes.
It can be a really great tool, but we always want to think about, why are we using this tool, and is this the best thing for my students at this time for this particular task? Sometimes we don't need to use it, and I'll share some examples in just a little bit of when a pencil and paper are actually the best tool, and sometimes there's a little bit more intricate tools that are better for the situation. And so we love to use the tools in order to do things that we wouldn't normally be able to do without them. And so in just a moment, you're going to see an experiment that's performed in a 6th grade science class. And we really think there's value in doing the experiment yourself and not just watching an experiment happen. And so the tools that allow us to do that are using our cameras, and a document camera specifically, to capture that experience in your own home and allow your teacher to see what you're doing. We also have lots and lots of tools that we provide to students in their success kit that have funnels and measuring cups and yeast packets and all the different things they're going to need for specific experiments in their own home. So let's watch a little bit of that together.
It's fantastic.
Okay, so now we're going to put 1 cup of warm water in each bottle. 1 cup of warm water in every bottle. Once you have that in there, just gently mix your bottle around. Just gently give it a little swirl and mix. So get your initial measurement for your balloon. We're going to go around the width of the balloon. So take it from one edge. Go around the width of the balloon to the other edge. Here's the distance I have for my balloon. So I'm going to get my measurement. If you're using yarn or something, try not to stretch it when you measure it. Just let it take its own length. Yep, that's perfect, Josiah. You can use that. Then you're going to go ahead and you're going to put a balloon on each water bottle. Be careful putting it on the top that you don't knock it over or something. Once you get all those on, then you're ready to start making your first measurement 15 minutes from now. Okay, so if you have your balloon on, then 15 minutes from now, you're going to make your first measurement. And you're going to record your data. Then 30 minutes, 45 minutes, an hour. So every 15 minutes, just check your balloon and record your data. Once you're done at 2 hours, then you can go ahead and dispose of your content so they don't get too messy.
Oh, I just love the yeast lab where they're studying CO2 and everything else. It's so good.
Yeah, the students had a great time doing that experiment, and all of the students in middle school do experiments often. You probably know, if you have a middle schooler, they do experiments a lot in their brick and mortar classrooms, and we think that's really important to continue online. So that is an opportunity that your students will certainly not miss if they join our program. So,
and the whole family gets to be involved regardless, right? Like,
yes.
Oh my God, I love
the
that.
The whole family. We're exciting wonder in our little siblings as we do it. So it's a great time. I think we have some pictures of some wonderful science journals as well. And this is another example of, using our tools, our pen and paper, and going outside in our surroundings to complete some of our work. And so this is such a highlight of being online, is going into your own environment and taking note of the things that are around you, and bringing those into the classroom. And so our students did these amazing science journal entries.
I particularly love that assignment because, and it's over the whole course of their life science course. They're going to add to it each unit, and in the process of doing that, it has to be their own work. There can be no copying of it because
Right.
they're having to do their own observation and their own writing with that, and that's such a profoundly unique and personal experience for the students to go through that. Those are beautiful. Oh my goodness, those are just beautiful journal entries, and they're also properly labeled, which is very good.
Yes.
And so that's one ways that we get them off, the way we use technology, but also have them using physical activities. How else do we have them collaborate, work together, especially when we think about 6th, 7th, and 8th graders, right? That's a really important time where they're forming relationships and learning how to be kind and interface with each other and listen as well as speak. Yes.
Yes, definitely. Middle school students are very social beings, and so we want to provide them with those experiences to learn in collaborative environments. So in a lot of our classes, we utilize tools that can allow for those opportunities. One of those is called Jamboard, and I think we're going to see a picture here in a moment. But this is from a Latin lesson. So there's a couple different groups doing some work at the same time, and the teacher is able to see the students' work as they're doing it, while the students are in breakout rooms doing work with their group. And then students can come back into the main session and show the rest of their class the work that they just did in their group. And students really love opportunities to be able to use technology tools and highlight things and use a sticky note and whatever it is. Sometimes that's just a little extra magic during the lesson that keeps them engaged. And so we like to provide those types of opportunities for them. I think we have one other picture too from a math class. And so we use this tool also in lots of different classes, but in math, they're able to work in groups too. And this is an example of a 6th grade group plotting some information on a graph. And there's a couple different groups that were working at the same time. And again, the teacher was able to see them completing their work in the moment. This is similar to maybe students grouping their desks together in class or coming up to the whiteboard and the teacher being able to provide that immediate feedback to their students while also providing them time to learn alongside their peers.
I absolutely love that. And I always think about the transition at time it took for them to get from their desk to the whiteboard and back to the desk again. And this eliminates that.
Yes.
But the fact that the teachers can give immediate feedback, that you can see the work that's happening, and that they get to really wrestle with the problem that they're working with and understand it collaboratively is really beautiful. So Jamboards are just another very specific and useful tool in a variety of classes. At the end of the day, what if you were going to take away if you were going to share with parents like the middle school experience in the use of technology, how would you describe it for parents that their engagement? Because we didn't talk about like Lit Comp or some of the other classes as well.
Yes.
What kind of balance are we seeking between technology and paper and pencil?
Yeah, this is actually a discussion I was just having today with our Lit Comp teacher, and we were talking about the importance of just like having that book in your hand. And you know what? We don't need to use a tool in that class. Let's just have our books in our hand and let's have a discussion. And maybe we might screen share the book every once in a while so we're all on the same page. But we want the kids to have those and hold them and annotate them and highlight them and do what you would normally do with the book. And so we still have those experiences that are centered around a book and a discussion and just seeing each other and listening to each other in those moments.
I absolutely love it. I used to talk to my families about which experience do you want better? Do you want to imagine your students coming together around a corporate boardroom and being able to talk and listen to each other, or fighting over things? And of course, we want them to be collaborative. And this is one of the ways that we help them learn to listen and to engage. So thank you so much for being here and for sharing that with us, giving us a little glimpse of middle school. We appreciate your time this evening.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Our next speaker, so excited to invite Miss Laughlin forward. We have a very special group of students that we delight in serving. And I think one of the questions that always comes up for us is, how do you support your exceptional students in our schools, either our special education students, our 504s, our students that need maybe something different than the rest of the class might need. And to my both delight and wonder, we've seen such great growth in our students from our special ed program, from our ESS, our Exceptional Students Services program. Tell us a little bit about, if you would, what is an overview of your program and how does it work at Great Hearts Online?
Yeah, so Exceptional Student Services is like what you said, the students that receive special education services. So speech therapy and occupational therapy, physical therapy, all of those students, interventions in reading and math and writing that maybe they're just struggling a little bit and they just need some supports. And so we provide all of that to them in a very collaborative way. Everyone is on the same page. Everyone is talking. Parents are sitting there listening to what, as me as the special education teacher, is working on and the vocabulary I'm using, that they're able to use that same vocabulary working on a homework assignment later with them. It's so cool. It makes me so happy that these families are involved in special education services that typically in a brick and mortar, you don't see what is happening. And you are there and you're a part of it and you're part of that team. And I just think it's wonderful.
I love that. I love the fact that we have visibility, right? As parents, we have visibility into the school. We're truly partnering with our teachers all the way through. And we can see the work that is happening and the work that our students are doing and the services that they're receiving. What might be a tool or a manner in which you engage with some of your scholars?
Yeah, so I also love Nearpod with my scholars. I typically work in scholars that work with me are in a very small group setting. Less than 5 students are working together. And I also love to use Nearpod for the way to be able to see exactly what they're doing, but save that information. Data is so important in my world, and having evidence of student learning is really important. And so being able to use a Nearpod, I'm able to show them. I know we saw Mr. Noctiborn sharing word problems. Not all children are ready for those triple and quadruple digit numbers. So I break it down back to those basic single digit numbers where some students are at, just to learn those skills, to take it to that next level. And so they're able to, I can see this is what they would see. I remind them of that process that we have here. But then as a teacher, typically I will have one or two more little boxes here, and I can see what they're writing, what they're underlining, and reminding them, like, what is that question? What are we looking for? And they're able to do that right there for me to see, and I can save it. It's so hard sometimes for me to have them hold their papers up to the screen, which they do that a lot for me too. But being able to save it is so important and so helpful as we're learning together. And so I can write on theirs, they can write on mine, and we work in this collaborative way. It works so well.
I love that.
Beautiful. I love it so much.
And I love the fact that they can also celebrate their growth, because you can go back and say, do you remember last month when we were doing this? Look at how far you've come in this time period.
Absolutely. You can evidence. It's just evidence, and it's lovely, and they do wonderful, and it's just such a small group and everybody works together. It's such a collaborative special education service experience that I've never experienced before.
Yeah, I am so impressed with and proud of the work that's happening in this program in particular. I think it was an unexpected delight to see the growth that we're seeing in our students in that area. What now, part of special education is your supporting of classroom teachers as well. What kind of supports, relationships, working do you have with the general education teachers?
Yeah, so one of the programs that we use to kind of document and assign homework and things like that, classwork, is Canvas. And I can see exactly what that child is working on that day and take that information and say, okay, we need to work on word problems. What are they doing in 3rd grade word problems? Let me scale that back a little bit, but let's emphasize what they've already learned in the classroom that day. And teachers can send me messages. There's just so much back and forth very quickly saying, hey, we really struggled with this today on the Nearpod in my 3rd grade lesson. And I can say, okay, great. That's good information for me to use when I see them later this afternoon for their small group instruction with me. So much collaboration between all members of the team.
That is fantastic. Thank you so much. Thank you for working with our students and for sharing this piece. And I know we'll have some more sessions in the spring where we'll dive in a little deeper. So families, please come back and you'll get to see Ms. Laughlin again. Thank you so much for tonight.
Yes,
Thank you for everything. My last, but certainly not least, Miss Reynolds, please come join us. I'm so, you're probably the one that everyone's been waiting for. Please tell us a little bit about how to enroll, what the process is, what are the next steps, what do we need to know?
So just real quickly, one of the things we definitely want to highlight is that we do still have availability this year for students to still enroll K through 8. So please go ahead and check us out. We also are in our open enrollment phase currently at this time. Things to take away for enrollment is that you must be a resident of the state of Arizona. You also want to make sure that when you do decide to enroll your child in Great Hearts Online is that they do have a productive learning environment. So that would be making sure that they do have great internet access. They do have parent support in their learning. And then also one of the other things is that you want to make sure that your student is set up for success. So as far as their learning environment, making sure that it's in a productive and conducive environment so that your student and your scholar can thrive. We will still, again, continue enrolling for this school year. And then right now we are accepting applications again from kinder to 9th grade.
That is fantastic. And I know you will help parents through the whole process. They just need to reach out to you at, let me think, info@Great Hearts Online. Is that right?
Or greathearts.schoolaccess.com. You can also reach me, my personal email address, altheareynolds@greatheartsonline.org. Be more than happy to help you out. I know I have already talked to a couple of parents. I'm glad that you guys had an opportunity to join us. Once again, it's just an awesome school, awesome teachers, definitely a great place for your child to enroll.
Thank you so much. And if you have questions for us parents, please reach out. We look forward to engaging with you further and answering any questions that you have. Have a wonderful evening. Thank you for spending some time with us and have a great week. Thanks.